This video is about the importance of picking the right executor for your estate. So other than the decision of where you want your money to go and who you want it to go to, the most important decision that you're going to make in your estate plan or your will is who you want the executor of your estate to be. And the reason this is such an important question is because the executor plays a very important role in the estate administration process. So after someone passes away, the executor actually takes complete control over someone's assets and estate. And that means that they have the power to make some very, very important decisions about how things are going to go and to make sure that everybody gets what they're entitled to under the will. And picking the wrong executor can really lead to a whole host of problems. And so what I'd like to do in this video is I'd like to point out some of the qualities of a good executor and some of the considerations that people should think about when they're deciding who the right person really is to name as their executor. Because I think it's tempting for most people to automatically want to say that their spouse is going to be their executor, or maybe their children. And oftentimes those are good people, and oftentimes there is a very good reason for wanting your spouse or children to be the executor of your estate. But sometimes it's actually in your family's best interest to have someone else appointed. And so what I really hope you take away from the video today is some of the things that really make a good executor, and some of the things you can think about when you're trying to decide really who the best person is. So I think there's really two big questions to ask when we're thinking about, okay, who is the right person to handle my affairs when I am gone? Before we talk about specifically who, the first question is how many executors should I have? And when in doubt, I would very much say that it's easiest to have one executor. Now, remember, I am an estate litigation lawyer, so I see many disputes, and I'm involved in some very, very big court battles where people are fighting and fighting and fighting. And I have seen many, many disputes arise because you have more than one executor and they're not getting along. And the reason this can create such a problem is because unlike other types of group decisions where it's the majority rules, the office of executor is actually only one office. And what that actually means is that even if you have three executors, they all have to be unanimous in every single decision that's made about the estate. So you can imagine that if someone picks three executors who never in their lives have ever gotten along and never been able to agree on anything, you can imagine the types of problems that could cause when it comes time to make some really important decisions during the administration of an estate. Now, as an example, I've seen cases that drag on for 5 or 6 years when, had perhaps only one executor been chosen, the estate could have been administered within maybe 8 or 9 months. And so, again, I really emphasize that when in doubt, it's a really, really good idea to consider, to remember that less is sometimes more. So once that decision is made, how many executors you're going to have, of course, the next and the most obvious question is, okay, who specifically am I going to pick to be my executor? Or if you are going to choose multiple executors, who are going to be my executors? And the way I have found is a good way to approach this question is to think about the qualities that actually make a good executor. What job is the executor going to have to do? And think about what people that are maybe good at those particular types of jobs. And so I think there's two really main qualities you want in your executor. The first is strong communication skills. Like so many problems that we encounter in life, I can strongly say that many disputes arise because of poor communication or miscommunication or some type of lack of communication. The executor, when the executor is administering the estate, is going to have to communicate with a whole variety of different people. So we have the beneficiaries of the estate, we have the estate lawyer, the estate accountant, even the funeral home, other family members, maybe the banks, other creditors. So you really, really want to pick someone who has very strong communication skills. And again, falling back on my background as an estate litigation lawyer, so again, dealing with disputes, I can think of many, many instances where had you had someone who knew how to communicate well, especially with the beneficiaries, I think many of the problems I've seen could actually have been avoided. And so I really can't emphasize enough how important communication is in a good executor. The second thing to consider is you really want someone who is both responsible and who is able to effectively manage stress. So I can tell you from experience that being an executor is a very, very complicated job. Even for relatively simple estates, the decisions an executor has to make can sometimes be very challenging. And the more complicated an estate gets, the more complicated these decisions are going to have to be. And so you definitely want to pick someone who you think is up to the task, who is responsible, and who you know you can trust with making these types of very important decisions. The other factor to consider, again, is the ability to manage stress. So this is, again, part of the overall responsibility, but the ability to manage stress, because being an executor is a thankless job, and it is a very stressful job. Again, an executor is making very important decisions, is having to communicate with a whole variety of different people. And remember, an executor is both likely impacted by the person who has died, and of course is dealing with people, the beneficiaries, who are obviously very upset. They're at a very difficult and challenging time in their lives too. And so you need someone who can manage all these emotions of everyone and manage really the complications that can come. So if you pick someone who can communicate well and who's very responsible and can manage stress, you're going to end up with someone who is going to be very, very good at moving your estate along and eventually distributing all your money to everyone in the way you wanted it. That doesn't mean there's not other factors, not other considerations that you should think about. But if you're only going to think about two, I would say think about strong communication skills and someone who's responsible and able to manage stress. So I really hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something from it. Check out my other videos below, and see you next time.